Hello friends and welcome to The Press. We're going to catch you up on all things match day 5 at the FIFA Club World Cup. Here with us, journalist Julian Laurent and the fantastic football analyst that is Cormac McCainch. So, let's get you guys caught up, shall we? Foden. Back on song for Man City as Wydad are brushed aside. We'll take a look at how the new boys, Ryan Cherki and Tijjani Reinders, got on. Drama in Miami as battling Al Hilal snatch a draw against the mighty Real Madrid. A bittersweet debut for new coach Xabi Alonso and Trent Alexander-Arnold. We're going to be reviewing the performance of both. We had some stormy weather and it couldn't stop FC Salzburg from defeating Pachuca of Mexico. We'll examine how their midfield dynamo, Oscar Glock, contributed to their victory. And it's lovely to hear this. The old lady was in the mood in Washington as Juventus made short shrift of Al Ain. They are Manchester City's rivals for supremacy in Group G, of course. OK, so the Miami Heat played havoc with the opening match as Xabi Alonso's Real Madrid delivered a lacklustre performance. Trent Alexander-Arnold and Dean Howson made their bows as they took on an Al Hilal side clearly used to the temperature and wanting to impress their new coach, Simone Inzaghi.
Two new managers, two star-studded sides. Alonso versus Inzaghi. What an opportunity. Danger here for Al Hilal! And Real take the lead! And he had his shirt pulled and wins Al Hilal a penalty. Sends the goalkeeper the wrong way, and Al Hilal a level. Danny Valverde, is he the key for Xabi Alonso? No, he's not. Bono with the save, big hand. A frantic end here at the Hard Rock Stadium.
OK, let's see what's being said about that Real Madrid performance on socials. It's a mixed bag. So, I think we can still have Ancelotti's automations. Oh, sorry, we're going to go to this tweet in just a second. Here it comes. Because Thibaut Courtois has been speaking about how they set up, and he said that the Ancelotti automations are still in their system. It's only been 4 days. Everyone calm down, essentially. I think that's what that's saying. We've got, don't let anyone tell you Trent had a bad game, by the way. That's my boy, Faisal, tweeting that one. Don't be gaslighted, please. Never be gaslighted, people. And within the first 90 seconds of the game, Trent drifted to the middle of the pitch in order to help with the build-up from the back. I suspect we'll see a lot of that at Madrid. Well, we'll win. That's the big question here. Cormac, let's talk about this performance. And I guess it's the first chance for us to see a Xabi Alonso side. And when we're talking about Xabi Alonso, we're talking about Bayer Leverkusen. In terms of some of the principles that we've seen from him that we thought we might see from Real Madrid, what would you say they are?
Yeah, so he's had 2 incredible seasons with Bayer Leverkusen, and I think there's a very clear way he wants to play and he wants to build his attacks. And there's 3 key principles that I think are fundamental that he's going to try and implement with Real Madrid, and that is his ideas of positional play, so you're going to see players in specific positions, but then they're not fixed to these positions once the move actually starts. You have a lot of dynamic players that I think will be perfect for Real Madrid. You'll see a lot of rotations. And then I think the third and final, maybe the hardest thing to implement with Real Madrid will be the press and the way they want to win back the ball high up the pitch and just suffocate the opponent when they don't have the ball as well.
And then when it comes to the actual performance of Real Madrid in this one, we saw absolutely none of that. We didn't see a 3 at the back. We saw a 4 at the back. It was, as Courtois said, the Ancelotti automations. And Alonso has spoken about, if you don't run, you're not going to play for me. I mean, they sort of ran, but out of possession in particular, that was a big reason why they struggled today.
Yeah, absolutely. It was quite underwhelming, to be fair. Maybe we expected a little bit too much because it's Xabi Alonso for everything that Cormac just explained. But after 4 days, like Courtois said, maybe don't expect too much challenge. But we see that far too easy, not enough pressure on the ball from Real Madrid. Al Hilal could have overlaps, crosses, even that in the box where it's very much ball watching. Look at this. No pressure. They're not even running. They're in their own half. And you can just ping the ball around to wait to create something with an overlap, a 2v1. And that's what Al Hilal did. They were very good, I thought, today. Much better than this quite underwhelming Real Madrid side.
Yeah, and I think we can kind of chuck in the the temperature when it comes to these ones. But look, we saw Salzburg, and it's in their DNA to press. But this Real Madrid team, this is what they've struggled with this season as well. You've seen how athletic so many teams are. And I think when it comes to Real Madrid, they've got so many superstars. The fear is there's a sort of, not an arrogance, but a kind of, oh, maybe you'll run or maybe you'll run. Because as a team, they weren't running, were they?
No, there was a lot of difficulty, but we've seen that, like you mentioned, with Ancelotti as well. That was one of the biggest reasons why they struggled in this season's Champions League as well. The intensity in football over the past few seasons has gone up another 10 levels than it was, and Real Madrid really struggled without the ball to really dominate games.
Yeah, it's really disappointing kind of to see that, because I think when we think about the fingerprints that Alonso could get on this team, and to be fair, it has been 4 days, but we really need to see something a bit more galvanising from this group. Trent Alexander-Arnold, of course, had his debut, and it was a quiet, safe performance. Only got to 65 minutes. Here are some of his touches here, and some of the things we generally love of Trent here. I think 3 of his long balls were successful. That one wasn't, maybe a few early nerves. But here, good bit of defensive play, something that's always a talking point when it comes to Trent. Able to sneak in there and get it done, and trying to keep the ball, trying to create things. This is a great moment that leads to the goal, Julius.
Yeah, in quick transition, which is really, at the end of the day, whoever is on the bench, what they're very good at, and they get a bit lucky because Gonzalo kind of fluffs the shot and it still goes in. But those kind of passes we use for Trent to hitting them properly. Koulibaly read that one really well. Yeah. And we see him in midfield already, which is the idea. We get that. He was doing it at Liverpool a lot. But then maybe...
No options, right?
Yeah, and overcomplicating that a little bit. He's not a runner with the ball. He's never been and will never be. But yet, when it's about pinging those balls, it usually works quite well. It's just tonight. And again, this afternoon, he needs a bit more time. But this is probably where he can be the most beneficial to this team. This long diagonals there towards Vini. Yeah. To switch the play quickly and then have him one-on-one is something that they could work on.
Absolutely. And another little pass here, which is quite nice. It's kind of the areas that he's going to get into is going to be an interesting one, which we're going to touch on in a second, and how Trent can triumph at Real Madrid. And I don't think it's all down to him, but there, just a little bit kind of clunky, maybe a bit rusty, maybe a bit jaded, and 65 minutes, and off he came. We're going to debate Trent a little bit more in a second, but let's talk about Al Hilal for a second. First game, of course, for Inzaghi, stepping into the head coach role there. And let's play the same game, shall we? When we're thinking about Inzaghi, what principles are we expecting, Cormac?
Yeah, so he's another manager that's seriously impressed over the past few seasons, especially with Inter. I know he had a difficult end of the season this year. But Inter are a really fluid team, and we can see it in this clip already that he's trying to implement these principles with Al Hilal. You see a lot of rotations between the different positions. They're very aggressive when they don't have the ball, and then you can imagine this clip is exactly what you'd see last season with Mkhitaryan winning the ball in midfield and then Lautaro Martinez overlapping and trying to finish the move. And you see a lot of similarities already in the way they want to build their attacks. Some differences in the sense that he's not playing with a back three, which was one of the main points that you saw at Inter, and was already playing with a back four. I'm curious to see if he sticks with that or if it's just the fact that he's only been there for 1 week.
Yeah, and I mean, for all you fans out there dreaming of just seeing 3 centre-backs, hang in there. I mean, we didn't see it. It felt odd, didn't it? It didn't feel right. You thought, surely someone's going to do that and they'll give us something really great to talk about. But no, they're both being a bit more conservative, maybe, because it is early days for both. Let's get back to this Trent debate then, because when it comes to figuring out how you get the best out of Trent, I think there's a lot of question marks here, and there's a lot of grey areas that we need to kind of look at. And on social media, he is such a story, isn't he, Julian?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it is a story for the way he left Liverpool and everything around that, for also the question of what can he bring to this Real Madrid team? Where do you play him exactly? Who do you play around him? We knew the relationship he had with Salah was pretty special at Liverpool. There's not really a Mo Salah right now in this Real Madrid squad. We saw Rodrigo playing ahead of him tonight, and they would need to work together or with somebody else to get use of each other, passing movement, patterns of play, everything you want. So it's very early days, but there's a lot of question marks around him.
So what exactly are they trying to get when it comes to Trent? We've got some of his numbers, first of all, from the game today, just to get you totally caught up if you have missed what's going on with Trent in that first opportunity for Real Madrid. And it was one where, in terms of those key stats for him, let's have a look at it here. You can see touches, 57. Passing accuracy, 89%. Key pass is just the one. Successful cross is just the one from 5 attempts. One dual one from his 5 attempted. Didn't actually make a tackle in this one. And he lost the ball 12 times. And I think these stats are really, really interesting because if we can go to the next graphic, you're going to see a lot more numbers, but they're really interesting ones because you've got that 65 minutes that he's played here. And if in terms of Trent and what Trent you want, you have a look at this last season, you know, the positions that he picked up the ball, but also the stats here. If you go to 90 minutes from 65 minutes, it all trends in a similar direction. The one that I think is really interesting is the fact that 89% pass completion. He's maybe just that little bit more conservative when it came to his passing in this one for Real Madrid. And we'll see as the weeks go on if he'll continue with that. The 21-22 season was his best season. That's when he had 12 assists. And from there, you can see that jump. 95 touches, 3 key passes per game, so many more completed passes per game. Same amount of pass completion, but look at those crosses. 9 crosses and then 3 will be successful. And possession lost, bumped up a lot. And that seems like a bad stat, but the point is, at Liverpool, he was the main man, he was the guy. For Real Madrid, there's a lot of main guys. So how on earth do you get those Trent numbers for Trent at Real Madrid as opposed to Liverpool, Cormac?
I think the pass completion rate is an important number to look at as well, because when you look at it, you think 78% in his best season. That's quite low if you consider other defenders, maybe other players in that position. But because he has the freedom to try these long balls, to try and play players in behind, it worked with Liverpool as well, because if they didn't instantly win that ball, they had players ready that could win the ball back high up the pitch as well. And I'm curious to see if that same dynamic works at Real Madrid as well. Obviously, you have great midfielders that are aggressive at winning back the ball, but will they be able to do that with the same consistency if Trent is allowed to push forward and play these balls into the box?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of questions on that right-hand side. Yeah. And the midfield as well. We've spoken about how kind of passive they were, which seemed odd. You had Tchouaméni in there, you've got Valverde in there, Jude Bellingham on the left-hand side. Valverde's going to be quite integral here because he's much better than Jordan Henderson, but there's maybe the opportunity for him to do some similar things because of the stamina and the ability to run, the ability to read the game as well as he does. That's going to be one key partnership. But what about that right-wing position? Because you've got Arda Güler, you've got Brahim Diaz, you've got Mastantuono. We were talking about him last night, and we saw the style of play that he had. Who do you feel could be the perfect partner for Trent? Because you know, you want to get some output from him. Yeah, and the triangle there on that right-hand side is the key anyway. You need to find 3 players who complement each other quite well, who understand each other's movement quite well. So if you say to Valverde, OK, this right half space is yours, you can bomb forward, Trent will find you somewhere. But then you need to have the right winger that goes with that, so that can come inside maybe. So I guess a bit like Salah, a left-footed that plays on the right. It could be Arda Güler, it could be Mastantuono. They're still young players. Do you go and invest? If Rodrigo goes, do you go and spend that money and reinvest it in somebody that looks a bit more like Salah, maybe? Yeah. More of a goal scorer, and then let Trent orchestrate all what happens on that right-hand side? Let me ask you this, though. This was a long time coming, so much so he was able to become fluent at Spanish. How thought through, though, do you think this transfer was? That's where I've got a bit of an issue from a Real Madrid point of view. I know he's on a free, it's a great opportunity, that's what they like to do. For him, it's a big club, no problem, the move makes sense. But for them, defensively, we know the weaknesses, and going forward, again, you build your team almost around him too, or as a big part of it. And like you said, there's a lot of many guys already where the team is built around. Yeah, that's it. The analogy I had was that, you know, with Real Madrid, there's a lot of lovely chocolates that you've been able to sort of go and have. And he's another chocolate. Is that healthy for you? Yeah. How many chocolates do you need? I'm not sure. Let's stop talking about chocolate, shall we? Now, we've got someone who's got far better things to say because he was at the game. Real Madrid reporter Matt Cannon. Matt, thanks for joining us. You were at the game today. It was a bit of a tough one for Xabi Alonso. What do you think was missing?
It's a very good question, James. I think it's the $1 million question, to be quite honest. Xabi Alonso, over the past couple of days, has been repeating one word constantly. That word is identidad. Identidad, identidad, identidad. In other words, of course, identity. And I think today, Real Madrid didn't really have any identity. I think the expectations were so high. We were expecting to see, potentially, you mentioned that back three, just there. But ultimately, we saw what was very similar to what you could describe as a Carlo Ancelotti team, what we've seen over the past 12 months or so. So I think, generally, a lack of identity, a lack of a game plan, a lack of any ideas. It is true that we need to give Xabi Alonso a little bit of breathing room. He's only been in the job for a week or so now and had very little time with the players on the pitch. But I still think he's trying to discover some of that identity. They bring those new ideas, bring a potential new shape as well. But for me, there was no game plan today, and that was what was primarily missing today for Real Madrid.
Yeah, I mean, that was really confusing because I think he is known for just being a fantastic coach. That's how he's got this job. So with that, and I think we all feel the same when it comes to that, I'm sure they do as well, what has been the fallout from the game when it comes to the Spanish media?
Well, I think there's still plenty of calm. I think generally speaking, the Spanish media tends to exaggerate quite a lot, but the feeling both amongst the board, amongst the fans and amongst the media is that this is the right man for the job. Xabi Alonso is the right profile. He's a young manager. He's a Real Madrid legend. So he has that breathing room as well. And we all saw what he did at Leverkusen. He was absolutely fantastic. The message from the media, some of the portadas, some of the headlines are Xabi Alonso isn't a miracle worker. He needs time to implement this style. And so people shouldn't get too carried away. They should maintain the calm and give this man time. His record at Leverkusen speaks for himself. He's a Real Madrid legend. He's exciting. He's up and coming. He needs time to implement those ideas.
Matt, is there anything post-match that Xabi Alonso said about the lack of identity, the lack of intensity maybe? We explained that off the ball they were not really pressing much, they were not running much. Was there questions about that asked to him?
There actually were, and I was actually quite surprised by how humble Xabi Alonso was. To be quite honest, having dealt with Real Madrid for a long time, they often shy away from the problems. When there's an evident problem, they don't tend to talk about it. They often don't talk to the press at times, but they were very good today. They were very honest, and he was very, very transparent. He said that he didn't like the first half at all, that his team lacked identity, that there was no real game plan, and that in the second half there were certain things that did improve. But he didn't like the fact that the team dropped back a little bit. He said that the team lacked intensity in the press as well, which is something we've seen him try to work on in training over the past couple of days. There's no doubt about it. That was also lacking as well. So he was very critical. He was quite harsh, and he was very, very realistic. And he did recognise that there is still a lot of work to do if they want to ultimately go all the way in this Club World Cup.
Interesting stuff, Matt. Thank you so much for joining us. OK.
Absolute pleasure. Thanks, guys.
Cheers, Matt. The pressure's not going to go away for Alonso. It's a new dawn for him. So, we're going to be talking about Manchester City in a moment, but first, let's wrap up Group G with a look at the game between Mexican side Pachuca and FC Salzburg. And there's an FC Salzburg that certainly had a lot of dynamism, didn't it, Julian?
Yeah, I mean, this is what they do in the Red Bull Group, to be fair. A lot of intensity, a lot of verticality, a lot of pressing. You run a lot. They were starting well, and then this happened. Another bad weather in the
2 days on the trot now, isn't it?
Oh, man, the game was delayed again, like yesterday, before starting. And I guess maybe Salzburg didn't restart the game like they should have. Pachuca with a really good goal by Brian Rodriguez. But overall, Salzburg were the better team. And
Oswu with the goal here.
Yeah.
Great little header, great cross. They were celebrating and enjoying the little jig there as well. But, yeah, the big man with a header, you love to see it. There's been a few bullet headers, actually, in this tournament. Great stuff for Salzburg. So let's have a look at the group. And it is Salzburg who are getting a few digs before the tournament in terms of their entry into it, but they have delivered 3 points. Real Madrid with the draw, of course, against Al Hilal. And their next game is against Pachuca, who, of course, are bottom of the table at the moment. OK, so that Salzburg game, there was something a bit sneaky, clever stuff from yourself. Good analysis, I'll give it to you. For Glock's goal.
Yeah, just because we're going to show you the two shots that he had before his goal, and he's the playmaker, he's the best player in that team. He's been outstanding. It's probably his last season there. But first shot, left foot there, good shot, good save by the keeper. Second shot, not long after, again, turn on to his left foot, shot just over the bar. So you think, OK, this is what he does, this is what he likes doing. The ball comes to him again, probably same position, same area, but this time he comes inside and great finish. He sent the defenders, we see flying there, going to buy a hot dog. And then great finish there. And again, this is what those kind of players do. You think you have them covered, you've analysed them well, you know what they've done, and yet they do something different.
Yeah, and the groups, it's really interesting to see the games that are going to come up. You've got Salzburg with the energy that they've shown, because of Real Madrid that looked a little bit lethargic, and then Al Hilal looked good as well. So it's all up for grabs when it comes to that group. OK, Manchester City were up against Wydad of Morocco, who had their moments. All eyes were on City's new boys and what Pep's new plan was going to look like after Erling Haaland was left out of the side.
City of Manchester against Wydad of Casablanca. A test of tactics and tenacity. Not fully clear from the keeper, and Phil Foden is in to score inside 2 minutes. Good set piece, and this time, Jeremy Doku. Big collision. Rico Lewis is going to see red. Guardiola gets an opening victory.
OK, so a routine victory, and there was a mixed reaction for the new boys on socials, and this is what people were saying. It looks like we have our beloved Foden back to his best. He has taken aim at goals on more occasions in this game, so they're happy with Foden, which is good after a difficult season. Tijani Reinder's passing is simply elite, progressive, incisive, disguised switches, tempo control. Every touch has purpose, whether it's slicing lines or calming chaos. They're doing our tactics for us. What a midfield gem, an absolute steal for Manchester City. And a lot of people feel like Cherki was a steal as well, but not everyone. Cherki, you should be embarrassed with this performance. Wow. They can be a bit punchy on X at times. Let's talk about this game and the setup, because no Rodri, no Haaland in this one. So we were kind of wondering how they might set up. And it was it's a controlled way that Pep likes to play, but also that aggression as well in terms of looking to squeeze the pitch and hurt the opponent. And quite quickly we saw Reinders as that single pivot, but getting a little bit of help from O'Reilly and Lewis, inverting for that second line when it came to the build-up. And we've got some clips here that are going to be able to hopefully illustrate all of that, because, yeah, without Rodri in the team, and we're going to talk about the squad for Man City moving forward, because we've got these new transfers coming in. But as you can see, 2, 3, 5. No striker in this as well, so maybe a little bit flat when it came to the middle areas of the pitch. But it was a good first half overall with the ball. And Reinders had a solid start, didn't he, Julian?
Yeah, good start, considering especially that this is not really his position. He's not a holding midfielder on his own like that with 4 players or 5 players in front of him. He's better as a double pivot, maybe as a 10 like we saw at Milan sometimes, but he put a shift in defensively. We saw him in the right place, reading the game really well. And then what he's very good at is this. You see them receiving the ball, just waiting for Doku's movement, and then it's almost the perfect through ball. So that would be very good, but that was higher up on the pitch. But as debut could come, I think that was very good from him. It
was pretty solid, wasn't it? We're going to talk about some of the problems as well, but here, I think his ability to cover ground, Cormac, we saw it at AC Milan. He's got all the elements of his profile to be a success at Man City, don't you think?
Yeah, of course. He's really mobile. He can cover a lot of space, and I think maybe in a different system where him and Rodri could potentially play together as well could be a really dangerous combination.
And the rest of the defence really, really aggressive here from Man City, looking to stay high up the pitch, not sort of giving any space or breathing space. But even in that moment there was a moment where Wydad could have got the ball away and hurt Man City in transition. And hurting Man City in transition has been a real problem for them this season. Have you done a video on this recently?
I have,
haven't you? Yeah. So what was the big problem there?
I think the lack of an out-and-out number 6. So when they lost Rodri, they didn't have much cover in midfield. So Pep had to find lots of different solutions to try and cover all these positions in the centre. And it just led to their defence being exposed quite frequently, which is something that we saw happen quite a lot in this match as well.
Yeah, so this is the other side of Reinders, guys. This is the chances that Wydad had. And they did have a couple of chances. It could have been very different. And here, look, sort of taking a second, he's kind of not totally aware. As good as he is, as great as gliding, his defensive work not totally great. Cherki not getting back in position, which means Reinders can't get tight to them. It's a bit more in flux, this team. You've got the 2 fullbacks stepping in as well. So sometimes that defensive organisation in transition, when people are moving really quickly, can be a bit of a problem. And Reinders here, again, you can't actually see him right now because he's not getting back. And he's kind of not stepping onto the play as opposed to getting back. So he got himself in trouble a few times. But the good thing was that the cavalry was arriving because the squad here at Man City, especially with all of these new arrivals in January and then now this summer, it made a big difference. And bringing on a Ballon d'Or winner and Erling Haaland will help a little bit. And you can see the structure is just a little bit more traditional. And you've got Rodri as that world-class six stepping into it here. He's able to kind of just survey the situation, and your eights are able to just be up a little bit higher, and you've got three layers of attacking lines moving forward. And this is the other side of it. Rodri able to read the play and then play a lovely ball here. Haaland should have scored this one, actually. So you've got the link-up of those two players, which is really, really helpful to have. And it's going to be interesting to see how they set up moving forward. Let's talk about Cherki. I know you like him.
Yeah.
I know you've, as a journalist, you've got all the little secrets on him as well, which is great. So hopefully you'll reveal them now. We saw on Twitter some people having a bit of a go at him.
Yeah, which I think is a little bit harsh. It's his first
You
game.
upset? You okay?
No, yeah, I'm okay. I think he's okay. He was happy to play, to start. You see there the ability technically, right foot, left foot. He's the most two-footed player that you can find in the big five leagues at the moment. But it's his first game for a new team and a manager that is completely different or very different to anything he's known before. So it's going to take a bit of time, and I don't think we can judge too much on what we saw. This is a lot of running from Cherki standing.
Is this more, or is this sort of first day at school trying to make a good impression?
I think a bit of both.
Yeah.
I think a bit, and that's fine. And again, I think he will improve quickly. He played as a 10 like he wants to. He feels this is his best position. Like Pep said to him, that's where he would play mostly.
Right.
But this time there was two 10s because Foden also played there. So that in itself is a bit of an adjustment when he's been used to play as a 10 on his own before.
OK, so it's time for a debate, guys. You need to get thinking about this as well, please, if you can, because I'm a little bit confused. Now, Man City are stacked, but what is Man City's best team? This is the difficult one. Let us know using the hashtag #ThePressCWC. But we're going to kind of go through some of the names here because there's a lot of new players here. This is a new evolution of this Man City side, and there's no doubt there's a lot of talent in this team. And do you know what? I'm going to put my neck on the line here. I think Ederson will continue in goal. That's just what I think is going to happen. But moving forward from there, there's a lot of quality, but maybe not total balance moving forward. We've just spoken about Rodri coming on, Haaland coming on. There was a moment where, in the warm-up where you had Diaz knocking about as well. Oscar Bob came on in this game as well. Gundogan came on in this game. So when we're working through the team here, there are some question marks. Let's run through it kind of quickly when it comes to the defence. You've got O'Reilly, who played today. He's really sort of, risen very quickly. But you've brought in Ait-Nouri. When it comes to these transfers, do these transfers come in and start straight away, or do you think O'Reilly will have the shirt? Who do you think's got the left-back position?
I personally really liked how O'Reilly played today, but I think there's definitely going to be a lot of competition. Pep's brought in a lot of youth into this team, which was something that they definitely needed this season. They're looking a little bit leggy, but I think there's still a lot of positions that are up for grabs because there's so much experience in this team at the same time. So youth doesn't always win.
Yeah, and I think a big thing with Pep, it kind of works on that macro level of understanding that we're probably going to play 60 games every season, and I think the squad often buys into that. So that dovetailing of the two. But there's so many different profiles here. So you've got O'Reilly, who very naturally inverts. He did it a lot in the game today. Ait-Nouri, known for playing at Wolves, often in a back three, kind of a wing back, drives with the ball, carries with the ball, which I feel is a big thing that Pep's trying to insert into this squad. The centre-back position, there's a few knocking about. I think Rice comes out. Ake, you've got there as well, who's a great servant. Would he be the starter? You've got Akanji, you've got Stones, you've got Diaz as well, so they're pretty solid there. The right-back position, though, Lewis today, who got sent off, which I thought was harsh, but maybe the letter of the law. But after him, you got Matheus Nunes. Who else? Is that a strong right-back area of the pitch, or do you think there could be a transfer coming in here?
Yeah, I think that there could be a transfer. There's a lot of talk about Tino Livramento, for example, making the move from Newcastle. I think Pep really likes Matheus Nunes and really believes that Nunes has all the potential to become a really good right-back. And he played a lot in that position last season. Not always at his best, but again, he was part of the learning curve. For me, Guardiola and Diaz are the two centre-backs. They finished the season together. It makes sense. I would have Ait-Nouri on the left, and I would have a right-back that offers the balance from Ait-Nouri bombing forward and the other one being there for more control.
Yeah, I mean, I guess maybe there's a talking point about Akanji, if you are going to go to that three, but we just saw today that build-up of a 2-3. I guess when we move into midfield, this is where I start getting confused, people, because there's so many options here. You've got Rodri and Reinders. You would imagine Reinders would come in and start, but then that only leaves one more position in the midfield for that sort of attacking midfielder. That's if you play Dorku on the left and Savinho on the right, if you wanted that width. And those players that we're talking about in terms of those areas, the main people, Cherki, Foden and Marmoush. Foden scored a goal today, looked good. Cherki's a new signing, Marmoush is a new signing as well, and Haaland has to play. So how on earth are they going to fit all these guys in?
I think it's really difficult. The first thing is you have to choose the formation, right? So you have to choose either if you want a 4-3-3 or a 4-2-3-1, and that instantly changes if you want the double pivot. So if you're going to go with Reinders and Rodri in the centre, and then you only have one choice behind Haaland, which is a difficult choice to make. But in any case, you're going to have to leave someone really talented out of the team.
And you haven't mentioned Bernardo Silva and Gundogan and Kovacic.
Yeah,
and
Gonzalez.
the talk from Pep last season, I want a small squad. Well, this is a pretty big squad to me.
Absolutely. And, I mean, yeah, there's no world where Haaland gets dropped. I guess on the wide areas, you've just said that Cherki will play through the middle. But for Foden, let's talk about him, because it was a very difficult season for him last year. It feels like he needs to really zone in on one area of the pitch and make that his own. He's a former player of the year.
Yeah, he is, yeah. And I think for him, wide doesn't work. I think he works more for Cherki, for example. If really you want to play Cherki and the 10 is for Foden because he's in good form, you play Cherki out wide.
OK. Very quickly, who's the casualty? Who's going to be the one casualty out of this squad for you?
Savinho for me.
I would also agree with Savinho.
OK. Right, let us know, guys. Al Ain have had 3 managers this season, decent names as well. Hernan Crespo, Leonardo Jardim and Vladimir Ivic. The latter was given the task of trying to stop Juventus' star-studded lineup. And I've got to be honest, his job might be a bit precarious as well because it didn't go great. It was a 5-0 drubbing, probably one of the most comprehensive results that we've seen when it comes to the Club World Cup this year. Great stuff from Juventus, and really continuing to the end. They basically spent the first half camped in the Al Ain box, didn't they?
Yeah, they've got some really talented young players in this team. I'm surprised Thiago Motta wasn't able to get more out of this squad in the time that he was there, but since the new manager has come in, he's had a real impact. He's been able to get Juventus back into the Champions League, and we saw why they've been so dangerous in this game tonight. Lots of dynamic players, a really dangerous system. We finally get to watch a team playing with a back 3, which we've been wanting to see.
Yeah, there you go, as promised. Cheers, go back. Thank you for that.
Which is a really good system for them because it gives them whips, and then they have the right players in the middle that can be dangerous.
Let's have a look at the group then. Juventus, you'd hope, would be at top of it. There they are. They've got that +5 goal difference. Manchester City in second spot after their victory. Wydad and Al Ain both on 0 points, kind of what we expected. But maybe this Juventus side could do something against Manchester City because it's been a tough couple of years for Juventus. But this is a youthful side, and it had a lot of verve to it, didn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, and that's what he got to does as well. There's a lot of verticality. He asks a lot from the players, a lot of intensity, and it's easier to do with young players, especially. I mean, I think Kenan Yildiz and Conceição, Francisco Conceição are the 2 main players in there as the 2 10s, plus Colomani, who was outstanding today, and the midfield that works really well behind with Thuram and McKennie, for example. So there's something there. It just needs to, I think, still improve to be able to compete for the league title, for example, in Italy, or even in a competition like this. The back 3 today didn't look that stellar, for example.
Yeah, the average age is 24 for this team. Let's have a look at some of the attacking moments, Cormac. Talk us through this, because there's a new, different style from the other teams that we've seen in the competition, and it's kind of creating width out wide, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. We can see a lot of players occupying the space out wide. That gives them always a free player that can cross into the box, but then we have so much density in the centre as well, with players like Yildiz on the ball now that are able to dribble and find these pockets of space and be really dangerous in these central positions. And we can see here him linking up with the other number 10 in this position, and they just cut through right the middle in this game, and they were able to be so dangerous just running straight through the centre, thanks also to the players out wide stretching the defence.
Yeah, constantly the ball through that central area there. Lots of just players comfortable in the ball, comfortable with players around them. It's lovely. Those sort of players with those action man hips. It's good stuff. Juventus looking good. So that was one goalkeeper had a tough time. This goalkeeper had a fun time, because one of the biggest successes of the tournament so far has been Ref Cam. We all love Ref Cam, and now we're going to bring you this goalkeeper cam. Diogo Ferreira wore it during the warm-up before the Boca game on Monday. This is just a new viewpoint that we are kind of experiencing when it comes to this tournament. And yeah, guys, is this sort of scary seeing this come flying at your face when you're watching this?
I guess it gives you a good insight on what goalkeeper and how fast the ball, again, a bit like for the referee one, how fast the ball goes. It makes me slightly sick, like if I'm on a boat, you know, it feels like it moves a lot, it's a bit jumpy, but I like it. It gives you a different perspective.
Yeah, do you know what? It's nice to see someone catch the ball when it comes to being a goalkeeper. There's been a lot of parries, you know, in recent times. But good stuff. More innovation at the Club World Cup. So this is what is coming up later today. Let's take a look. Palmeiras versus Al Ahly. That's at 5 p.m. today. Inter Miami. Messi is back versus Porto, tough one for them at 8 p.m. Seattle versus Atletico Madrid at 11 p.m. Atletico Madrid really need a win after that defeat against PSG. And then it is PSG versus Botafogo at 2 a.m. on Friday. And of course, you got the press. That's this show. And there's me with Messi and Jude Bellingham. That will never get old. Thank you so much for joining me, guys. Today, that's all we've got from the press, but we're going to see you again tomorrow here on DAZN. Thanks for watching. We'll see you soon.